Welcome to our Promethean training tutorial 2. Today we're going to be looking at all of the tools that are available to you and how you can use them to get the most out of the flip charts you create. Alright, so we're going to start today by looking at the main toolbox. You can see I have a picture of it here. I have my actual toolbox over here. I'm going to start in the top left corner here and just go through each one of these icons. So the first one here is your main menu, and if I click on that, it's going to give me all of the file menus that I have over here. So they are the exact same. Really, it's just a matter of preference. You can click either spot, whichever you prefer. Underneath that, I have my desktop annotate button that we're going to go into a little more detail on here in a few minutes. We do have our arrows here that allow you to go to the previous page or to the next page. Underneath that, we have a couple buttons for active votes. So if you were using an active vote and had it plugged in, this button right here would be green and active. Okay, we have our color palette here so that you can select pen colors. Underneath that, you can see we have different pen tips. You can either use the slider or up here to make your pen a wider or finer pen tip. Underneath that, we have our arrow. Here's our pen tool, our eraser to erase anything that you have written, our shape tool. We have a quick link to insert media, so if you wanted to insert a file or a video or something, you can click on that. Underneath that, we have a little spray bottle here which will clear things off of your screen. We have an undo button to undo the last thing you've done, a redo button, and this one here is actually a page reset button, so that if you've done a lot of writing on your page and it's the end of the block and you want to go back to the original page for your next block, you would click this button and it'll revert back to how the flip chart was when it was saved. Up here we have a text box for typing. Above that we have a connector tool that will allow you to draw a line that has 2 points or 2 arrows at either end. Above that we have our paint bucket or our fill bucket that will allow you to put on a background color. Above that is our highlighter. And then the hammer and the little wrench here are some extra tools that we're going to go into more detail on in a few minutes. And so that gives you the basics of what's on the toolbar. If you notice over here to the right, I have a bunch of other items, and you can see even in the picture sample there are other items too, although they are not the same as what I have. This is actually your custom tool area. So if you have items that you use quite frequently, they will show up here, and then you can use them as you want to. So you can see that I have a delete icon, save if I've been saving, I have a duplicate icon here. Anything you use frequently will show up here, which is nice and convenient. One thing to note is that if you go to another computer in the building, these will not follow you, so it would be blank if you were starting at a new computer. Alright, let's go ahead. Okay, so as I said, these are your user-defined buttons that do change. Okay, and looks like one I forgot to mention is right up here. That's your desktop tools, and we'll be using that shortly as well. Okay, so the select tool is your arrow tool. This is what you're going to use to select text or an image, any of your file menus. This is the tool you want to go back to after you've used your pen or your highlighter or whatever you're using. Alright, if I want to insert a new slide while I'm creating, I can go to Insert and then Page, and I can choose a blank page before the current page or after the current page. Alright, so the pen and the highlighter. If I want to use the pen, I'm going to click on it here, and I can select the color I want to write with, and I can write. You can see I have a really fine tip right now. If I wanted something thicker, I can drag that across, and then I get a big line like that. Okay. Same thing with the highlighter. I can click on my highlighter and I can select a color and I can highlight something on the page. If I want it smaller, I can either drag the slider or I can click on a different tip here and I can highlight. Okay, now notice I've put a bunch of stuff on this page. If I quickly want to get rid of it all, I'm just going to go to the page reset button down here, and then it's clean and ready to use for my next class. Alright, so on this page is the Tools button, which is a more in-depth tool area. So if I click there, I'm going to get all of these possible items here. Now some of them are probably familiar to you because they are also on this toolbar here. But there are a few, especially at the bottom here, that I want to make sure you're aware of. The first one is the Revealer tool, and a lot of teachers use this. This is kind of reminiscent of the good old overhead projector day where you would uncover something at a time. So when I click on that button, it hides everything, and you can see I have a little pulley here. If I go to the top, I can slowly pull down piece by piece what I want the students to see. The cool thing about this is if I want to, I can go down to the bottom and you'll see the pull tab has flipped. I can pull it this way. To get rid of this, I'm going to click back on that hammer and wrench, and I'm just going to uncheck it and it will go away. Underneath that we have a spotlight tool, so if you wanted to spotlight a particular item on your page, whoops, I'm going to grab it by the outside of the circle here and I can pull it around the screen. Again, to get rid of that, I'm going to go back to it and uncheck it. Underneath that I have a camera tool. We're going to go into that in a few minutes. Math tools for all you math people. We've got our rulers and protractors and dice rollers and calculators and all that good stuff. So I would just select whatever I want to use, and you want to get that cross right there in order to move it. Okay, and I can make it bigger if I want to. I can move it around. I can have a full protractor, half. You know, you've got all kinds of options here. If I want to rotate the protractor, I can. I just kind of have to hover down here until I get, there we go. I get that kind of curved arrow, and then I can turn it whichever way I want. When I'm done with the protractor, I'm going to take it from the middle and I'm just going to drag it down into the trash, which is the same thing you would do for the ruler or any of those other math tools. Alright, so desktop annotate is where you can write on your desktop. So let's say that you have a website or a PDF or a Word document that you want to write directly on and you don't want to have to put it in a flip chart. I'm going to click on this button and it will hide my flip chart, and now I have a worksheet. So I can click on the pen tool, and I better make that skinnier, maybe a little fatter, and I can start to write whatever I want on this page. Okay, so you can write on anything. One thing to note about this is that I only have one page here, but if I had multiple pages and I tried to scroll down, this text is not going to stay with this box. So when you're done writing on a page, you're going to want to reset before you move on to the next worksheet or the next page. Alright, to get back to my flip chart, I'm going to click again on the desktop annotate button and it will take me back. Okay, tools to erase, we talked about this a little bit already. You've got your eraser tool, the clear tool, and notice when I click on that I can clear just my annotations, which is my writing. I can clear objects, a grid if I have one, or a background, or I can clear the entire page. So you can choose which one works for you. If you, let's say I accidentally clear the entire page, and whoops, I didn't mean to do that, I can come up here to the undo button and I can click it, and then everything will come back. Alright, the shape button allows you to put shapes on your page. I'm going to click on it here, and you'll see I get all these options for shapes, and if I click the double arrow or kind of down below, I get even more choices. So I can select what I want. I'm going to click and drag, and it will create a shape for me. If I want to change the color, I can come up here to a color, and I have to click on my paint bucket. Oh, I made it black there. Okay. Alright, adding text. I'm going to click on the T button. Notice as soon as I do that, I get a bunch of text information up here. So I can play with my font, my sizes, whether it's bold, all the stuff that you're used to doing. So when I'm ready to type, I'm just going to click somewhere, and I'm going to start typing whatever I want to say. When I'm done typing, I can grab it, I can move it around. Okay. Alright, so couple other things up here. There is an on-screen keyboard, so if you wanted a student to be able to use that, you could do that as well. Okay, I'm going to close that. Alright, adding images. So if I wanted to put in a picture of something, there are a couple ways you can do that. You can click Insert, and you can go to Media. Earlier we talked about that is actually right on the toolbar here. There's this little icon here. If I click that, it's going to do the same thing, and it will let me go look for images that are saved on my file. So I would just click what I want, and there it is. It's right there. You can also add images by copying and pasting from the internet. So if you go to Google, find something, copy it, you can paste it and put something in that way as well. Alright, once you create an object or copy an object on here, if you click on the object, you get all of these little icons up here. The nice thing is if you hover over these, they will tell you what they are. So this one allows you to move your object. This one would allow you to rotate your object. Okay. Lucency. So if I click it and drag it, I can make him lighter, darker, whatever I want to do. If I had multiple items, I could group them. I can send this guy to the front or to the back, which I'm not going to do right now because I don't want to lose him. I can make him smaller, bigger, whatever I want to do. So again, the nice thing here, I can duplicate him if I want another one. The nice thing is, like I said, you hover over this and it tells you what it does, so you don't have to have anything memorized. So the next thing we're looking at are the desktop tools, which is the icon right here. You can see if I click this little desktop background with the hammer and the wrench, what happens is Active Inspire will disappear. I will get my regular desktop and I can do things on there. So I can click, you can see Active Inspire went away, and now I have this little icon here that I can grab from the middle and I can move it around the screen wherever I want to go. So this would allow me to use these tools outside of a flip chart. When you're ready to go back to a flip chart, this is the button right here. See, if I hover over it, it says Return to Flip Charts, and it takes me back. So I can return to a flip chart. You can use the Express Poll if you have ActiveVotes, the screen recorder to record your session, kind of like I'm doing right now. We have more tools, which are the same as the more tools here that we've already started discussing. You've got your camera tool, which we're going to look at in a moment, the on-screen keyboard, and the Promethean Planet website. Alright, so the camera tool gives you a couple options. You can take a full screen snapshot, window snapshot, freehand. 9 times out of 10, I usually like to do the area snapshot because it will allow me to select what I want to take a picture of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click up here on these desktop tools, and I have a math problem here that I want to copy into my flip chart. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to click on the camera, and notice I have these choices, so I can do full screen, window snapshot. I'm going to go all the way down to the area snapshot. Okay, and when I click it, I'm going to move this out of the way, and this box needs to highlight what it is I want to copy. So I can choose to send it to the current page I'm working on in Active Inspire. I can send it to a new page, or I can just copy it for later. Those are going to be the top 3 choices you'll want to use. So I'm going to select send it to the current page, and you should have heard a little snapshot there. I'm going to go back to my flip chart, and there it is. There's my problem. I can click on it. It's now an object. I can make it bigger, smaller, do whatever I want to do with it. Okay? Alright. Last thing are the management tools. So when you click on the hammer and the wrench right here, down at the bottom you have more tools. And these are the items that are on this page. So the clock, you have a countdown, count up timer. Ticker tape would allow you to display a scrolling message on your screen. Let me show you what that looks like. So if I start to type a message, you can see up here that it starts scrolling. So if you wanted to have a scrolling message while your kids are coming in that says something like, you know, turn in your homework, study for the quiz, whatever, you can make it, give it a shadow, play with the color. You can have it at the top, middle of your page, bottom of your page. Kind of have fun with that. So I can make the background color if I want it to stand out a little better. Okay. Alright, so when you're done with that, if you want to turn it off, I'm just going to get rid of my message here. Click OK. I'm going to go to the next page. And once you close this little icon right here, the ticker tape will go away. And that's it for today. Thank you.